magicfandom.com. I'm your host, Nina, and I am back this week to discuss Pachinko. And I'm going to be talking about 2 episodes this week because we took a break last week because my lovely special co-host, Julie, she's back.
Hi!
But Julie was away on business last week because Julie has a real job. I'm always jealous of you people with real jobs and careers and stuff.
The mirror goes both ways, believe me.
Listen, I am just I'm 47 years old and I'm still technically like a starving artist, still trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing. With student loans galore. But yeah, so Julie was out of town last week, so we decided to double up this weekend. And I know you just watched episode 6 earlier today. I watched episodes 5 and 6 earlier today because I purposely wanted to hold off to watch them close to when we were going to record. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about like kind of like the cry fest. And I want to, and so I just want to be clear about something when I talk about, because I've tweeted about it too. I just want to be clear. The show is not all sad. And it's not even necessarily sad things that make me cry. Right. It's just this human, this human experience. So sometimes there are just moments of like kindness between two people, that it gets to me, and I just start crying. I might have cried like 4 or 5 times in each episode. So it's not that it's like sad all the time. I'm just a pussy.
Yeah, I mean, who isn't a pussy for like the human experience,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. So,
let's get that on a shirt.
Definitely. So, what did you think of these 2 episodes?
Oh, so powerful. I know that I remember reading the book and seeing that it really is a story. Like there's like 10 stories or like 10 lessons, going on. And I think it took the visual and like audio visual medium to see how, wow, just like women just hold the whole fucking world up.
Seriously.
Know? Oh,
seriously.
God.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad. Like, there was one scene in particular when she goes into labor and Sunja, she goes into labor and Isak is going, Kyung-hee asks him to go look for his brother, right?
Yes.
And she's like, I can, and Sunja he's like, are you sure? And she's like, go, I can do this. Women have been giving birth since the beginning of time, blah, blah, blah. The moment he walked out that door,
yes,
she started wailing. And then you realize it's not that it only started hurting when he left. Yep. She was holding it together for him, just so that he could go do what he needed to do. And then when he left, I was like, yeah, if that ain't just being a woman, like
in a nutshell right there,
like holding your own shit together inside to your own detriment sometimes, just to keep it together for them so they can go out and do what they need to do.
Yeah, and he did need to do that. Like, that was an important stuff.
Yeah, because, it's interesting that where he goes to that bar, and we see those Japanese, I'm guessing they were like police, come in to harass them. And, man, I don't know, like, what might have happened had he not gone. Because, like, he stopped his brother from getting into it with someone else.
Yeah.
If he wasn't there, his brother, who knows what could have happened. Like, if his brother got into a fight and those cops came in then,
yep,
he'd have been thrown in jail. That would have been it. Yeah.
That would have been best case scenario.
Exactly. So, yeah, he did have to go. So, anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. I cut you off. Overall. Powerful.
So, yeah, like, the way we show up for each other, right? Even if we have beef, from before,
yes.
like,
yes.
I don't know. Do you want to talk about specific plot points now?
Yeah, we can, sure.
Just like, she was laboring for much too long, and she was exhausted.
Yes.
And the baby was not progressing.
Yes.
And obviously in that time, or even modern day, right? That's kind of a very slow, agonizing death sentence, right? For the mother. And their next door neighbor who raises pigs.
Yes.
Who they constantly just yell at each other and gripe at each other.
And even when they're not yelling, they're just giving side eyes and dirty looks.
Yes. But she was just under the guise of, God damn it. Like,
yes, it's too noisy.
You're so noisy.
Yes.
Let me help. And then she was like, holy shit, you're in bad shape. And then she just took it from there.
Yes.
And my whole heart just like,
yes,
you know, like
exploded.
Rejoiced. Because otherwise she would have died. Because, you know, Kyunghee, like, never had children.
No, and she didn't
know. Never seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
And Sunja may have never seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you can't, like, instinct your way out of it.
No. As much as you may want to. Sometimes yeah. And I thought it was interesting. I couldn't tell what she was yelling right away. Like, but when the neighbor came in and she was, like, helping her up, and she's like, you have to bear down. Sunja was yelling, and the subtitle said mother. Like, I was like, I couldn't tell, was she like calling this woman like Oma, or was she just like calling for her mom? Either works, because I'm 47 years old, and there are times when that depression really fucking hits. I will be here and like, I just want my mommy.
Yeah, oh yeah. I interpreted it as she was just like screaming for her mother.
Yeah. Which is,
I mean,
that's the time to do it.
Been there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm loving it, Julie. And I have to say, another reason, you know, I hope I'm not like turning people off from the show when I post about it on social media and I talk about how much it makes me cry. Because again, it's not always sad tears, but, like you said, in a moment like that, where it's just people, you know, being good to one another and helping one another, stuff like that just gets to me. But also, I think I cry because I'm a pussy, but like I'm invested in these characters.
Yes.
I'm so invested in Sunja and her family and her story, and I like that these 2 episodes gave us a little bit more insight into why things are kind of the way they are in 1989, I think. Because we had speculated before, and I know, again, there's certain stuff you can't really say to me because you have read the book, so I appreciate you probably playing dumb on some stuff for me. But like, yeah, you know, I recognized that like Solomon and oh God, what's his father's name? Because it's
Moses.
not Noah.
Moses. It's Moses.
Yes.
Moses.
Right. So I was like, I recognize this is all biblical names, and Isaac, Isaac, right? And then the brother, Joseph, right? Joseph. But I was like, I know that she's having another man's baby, and I kept waiting to see if Solomon's dad is Hansu's son. And it seems like he's not. Sorry, you probably hear my dog going off in the background. Right? Like, what these 2 episodes are telling me, I think, is that the baby she gave birth to in episode 6 is Hansu's son, and his name is Noah. And apparently, something's going to go down where she loses him.
Right.
Like, either, like, I don't know if he dies or something, that they don't seem to be speaking. But, and then, so, Moses must be a child that she has with Isaac later, is my assumption.
That makes sense to me.
Okay. And so, okay. And then there's other things I'll wait until we talk about the details. But yeah, like, I'm so invested in this family to the point where I catch myself having grace for Hansu.
Yes.
And even some of the other men, and like, I found myself in scenes like where I didn't catch his name, but there's one point where the woman comes to Isaac and Isaac, and she asks him to talk to her son, right? Because he's hanging with a bad crowd. He doesn't talk to her. She's worried. And when he talks to the guy, you know, he's telling him, like, I guess they're working on the subway, right? Because there was like a big deal. They're building a subway station in Osaka, and it's going to, you know, and he's basically like, all this is going to do is carry workers further away from home to work for them. They don't treat us like men. And then we go home where there's someone below us, our wives, our children, right? And we drink and we be, and like, I understood that this is not an excuse. This isn't him saying, you know, we beat our wives and this is why. And it's, you know what I mean? Like, can you blame us? But he was just stating the conditions and
cold hard fact.
Yeah. The human conditions, right? Like what people may do under certain conditions. And so when he's saying all of this, like, of course, I'm not sitting here feeling bad for people who beat their spouses, but at the same time, I'm listening to this and I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. It make, you know what I mean? Like, it's just these people put into these positions and treated in this way. This is where those things come from. And again, I've seen similarities in the Black community where you have, you know, excessive drinking, the neglect of mental health issues. There's no addressing of that. Well, at least there wasn't. You know,
it's eerily similar how these societies like figure out really like in the same ways like how to dehumanize the population, right?
Yes.
You like separate them, you turn them into a ghetto.
Yes.
You know, you take away these comforts one by one or whatever it is. It's like the same kind of playbook.
Yes. And that's what that kind of that treating the men that way, like that's very purposeful.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they realize that that this is, it drives people to drink and other things. And so it's all very, very purposeful.
Yep. What is it? The pain is the point. Or
yes. Yeah. Cruelty is the point.
Cruelty is the point.
Yep. All right. So let's talk about the details, and we're going to do things a bit differently. And I don't know why I didn't do it this way before. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you guys know that when we cover shows that are, you know, that deal with either, where, you know, we have several locations going on at once, or I'm sorry, I don't know why my dog is acting like that, or different timelines going on at once. Sometimes I'll take my notes and I'll just keep them separated by that, like whatever location we're in or whatever time we're in. And then when we talk about it on the podcast, we go location by location. I think it, you know, kind of helps it go smoothly. And I should have been doing this from the beginning, but here we are. So when we talk about chapter 5, I have it in both of them, actually. There are 3 separate things. And again, if you've been listening for a while, you know I usually let my co-host pick where we go. So, Julie.
Oh.
Do we want to start with, for episode 5, Osaka 1931, Busan 1989, or Tokyo 1989?
Let's go with number 2. Let's go to Sunja going to Busan.
Yes. Her face in the market. She was so happy. She was so happy to be walking through the stalls in the market and watching the people, you know, haggling over prices. And
yeah, it was like she was in one of her elements.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not only like awesome. Seeing it, but like hearing her language, you know, like things that, you know, she probably didn't hear very often in Japan. Did we ever, I have this here in my notes, did we ever talk about her diving? I feel like, I don't know that we spent too much time on it.
Yeah, I don't think we did.
But I had, I'm trying to remember, like recently, I would say in the past year or so, there was an article in one of our major papers here in the States about women in South Korea diving. They're diving for like clams, right?
Oh yeah, there's pearl divers that do like deep sea diving, and then they're like the abalone farmers, yeah. And
so why is it? I think I already know the answer to this, but and I'm assuming you do. If I ask you, like, I don't know, now I'm gonna go to Google. But why is it primarily women? Because like we noticed back in the late 1920s when Sunja was a little girl, it was all of the women going. And is it just because men typically stayed and worked in like farming and stuff?
Yeah, I think in like the fishing villages, they had to. It's kind of like this one or maybe multiple day sojourn, right? Like to go out deep enough to get the fish, and that was kind of like a man's job. I don't know why like women. It's like women taking to diving. I don't. That's an interesting question.
I'm gonna look up the article. How about?
Yeah.
I mean, not right now, but like when we're done, I'm gonna look it up and I'll send it to you, and then I will put it in the podcast show notes, and I'll also tweet it for those of you who like follow me on Twitter, because I feel like I saw it and read it, and I don't remember a lot of the details, but I just know that it was. And I mean, it's gonna sound bad, but like when I say women, I mean like older women. They weren't it wasn't like this was like women like in their like 20s and stuff. These are women older than me going out there diving, and I was like, wow, look at these badasses. And I distinctly like I remember the picture and everything in my head with them in their suits and their gear, posing, and I was like, oh, they're like such badasses. But yeah, she was doing that when she was a little girl, and even when she's at the market now, and she says something like, her father would go watch her dive, and she said she would get ones bigger than this.
Yes.
She just said it like very matter of factly, like
it's such a Korean thing to
yeah.
But it's like also it's a Korean like little girl thing to do.
Oh really?
Like those little brags like that. Yeah.
Okay.
And, like I think she was really taken back into when she was a teenager again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They go and spread Kyung-hee's ashes at the beach, and then she goes to her father's grave, but the cemetery has been replaced with it's a parking lot for some establishment.
Yes.
So okay, so I'm going to take a quick little detour to tell you a story.
Okay.
I've only told one person this story, Kaylee. So this is the first time. So, oh my God, I'm trying to think of the way to tell this. So, okay, so I was talking to a friend in Korea, and we do a language exchange, right? Where he's been learning English. Obviously, I'm learning Korean. So we would pick topics, and we would just have a conversation about stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And I do not remember like why. Oh, well, yeah. So I had heard. Well, because Korea is really small, and everything that I'd seen in fiction, like K-dramas and stuff, was cremation. People getting cremated, right?
Right.
And then we watched Goblin, and there was like a whole storyline around like where the remains or the ashes are kept, right? Mm-hmm. And you see it also in Parasite at the end. I won't say which character died in case people haven't seen it. Okay. So I was explaining to Kaylee, I was like, I think, I think I had read, again, I'm not sure where I got this from, but my understanding going into this conversation, this is what I was saying to him, was that my understanding is that in Korea, people, when people die, the funeral services, people aren't buried. Most people are cremated. And I thought it was a cultural tradition thing mixed with necessary because of the land space, right? This was my I don't know where I heard this, but this was my thinking. And so that when people are cremated, and again, I watched another K-drama where they were standing, and it looked like there was a service, and it looked like they were standing like almost like a lobby of a really nice like hotel or office building, and you're just like at the bank of elevators, and you're just waiting for an elevator, and the sign up above the light, it would tell you which person is getting cremated. Mm-hmm. And when it's their turn. And I think I don't remember if it was done in front of them, like the door in front, but so they were there like watching, and so they were able to bow their heads and pray when she was being cremated or whatever, and then they're taken to these places, and I just assume you're paying for that little spot. So it's like a big room with like cabinets. That's probably not a good way to explain it. And each person has
the States too, right?
Do they? I don't know.
It's like more of like a mausoleum.
Okay, yes, that. Yes, mausoleum. I'm sorry. I thought you were saying like we have like places like that. Like because it looks like you're at like a library. Like it looks very You know what I mean? Like very open, and you can like look in and see, you know, I guess the family puts like pictures and whatever kind of urn the ashes in or whatever. So this was my thinking. So we're having this conversation, and I was like, so it's my understanding like you guys don't bury, you know, people there. And I don't remember like what he said, but he starts telling me this story, and he said a word, and he's talking in English, and he said a word, and I was like, puree. Right? I thought he said puree. So I was like, oh, puree? Like, and he says, no. But then he kept talking. So I was like, okay, he didn't say puree, but like, what did he say? Because he's telling me like this thing like he heard. So, and then he was like, you know, like, what he was saying was like a jewel. He was trying to say jewel. But it came out like like jelly. Like he was saying the word jelly. So I was confused. What I thought he was saying was that there's a new thing in Korea where you could get your remains, do not kill me, pureed, like.
Oh my God.
Okay,
I have
listen.
no idea.
No. It's not what he's saying. Okay. So, and then you could like. And I was like, really? He was like, yeah. And then you could like wear it like in jewelry. And I was like, what? And I was like, puree. And what he was saying was pearl. He was saying that some people now are getting their ashes turned into like jewels.
I see. Yeah.
And then you can wear it like to have the person with you. But he was saying pearl. But it sounded like he was saying pure. So I was like, okay, can I tell you what I thought you were telling me? I thought you were telling me in South Korea, y'all was just walking around.
Well, there's smoothies.
Yeah. I was like, I know I'd never heard of this. They don't talk about this on the news. I was like, is he about to tell? And when I told him what the words were that I thought he was saying, he was like, no.
That's
so
ridiculous.
Anyway.
But that's amazing.
Yeah. So this is, you know, language exchange. It's very, very, it's very fun. And the misunderstandings can be very, very funny. But so it turns out her father was moved, and the person left on the contact form for like the information about this is Poki. Shin Poki. So listen, didn't I tell you? I was like, I don't care. She better reunite with somebody. I need somebody to still be alive.
Yep.
And this was the girl, and I actually stopped the episode and went back to the prior episode to see which one she was, because I didn't remember their names. I remember their faces. I didn't remember their names. So she was the one who was basically, when they were doing the laundry, telling Tongi, I think is her name, to like snap out of it. Like, we're not going to get married the way she's married. You know, like we're orphans and all of that. And so it was her. And then this was probably like the first time I cried in the episode. And we learned that after she left, and I think before the war, right? They went working in, what does she say the name of that? I'd never heard of it. So to the point where I questioned if it was even in Korea. It wasn't like a Marikua? I didn't write it down.
Well, I think that she said Manchuria, right?
Is that what she said?
I think so.
Okay, I was like, I didn't have if I did have the subtitles on, I didn't catch that. Okay. So they went to work in a factory for a couple of years, and then when they came back, she said her mother was gone. But she didn't say, like, she didn't die, right?
She didn't. No, they kept it very vague.
Yeah.
I remember thinking,
But yeah, I kind of thought, okay, well, there clearly is more story there with her mother, right? Like, we know she's never been back there, but it's not just as simple as, oh, I left and then eventually my mother died. Like, I feel like there's something there, because she just said that she was gone, and she was relieved that she couldn't see what they'd become or what. And I was a little confused by that. Like, how different were, like, what is it about them that they wouldn't have wanted her mother to see? Like, were they a little bit more worldly? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I couldn't tell if it was like they had just worked so hard that they, like their skin gets rough or whatever.
Okay.
Or there was like kind of more sinister things going on.
Okay. It's
yeah,
probably the first one, I think.
Yeah, and there's probably, like even, it's basically trafficking, right? Like,
that's what that was. Okay.
Like, yeah, you think you're gonna go work at a factory, but then who knows what's waiting for you when you get there? It happens to women now.
I'm so simple, Julie. I did not even like. I mean, it's okay because it kind of sounded that way, but again, this isn't my native language, and I'm not always like one thing that's still really a problem for me is my listening comprehension. Because when native speakers really get to talking fast, I'm like, yeah, I didn't get none of that. Like, I probably know every word they said, but I didn't understand any of it.
I mean, yeah, that's why I tell people, like, I know Korean, but like at like a 6-year-old's level. Like,
we are at the
very
same.
Literal.
We are probably at the same level, honey. So, yeah. So when she's saying it, it's when she says, the man promised us work in a factory, and like it sounds a little sketchy, but at the same time, it sounded like, oh, okay. I mean, we had the same thing here, right? Around the same time, I guess, right? Like women sent to work in factories, and they stayed in like those boarding
houses.
Yeah. And it was just, hell on them. They worked for very little money and dangerous conditions on their feet all day and all that. So I was like, that's what I was thinking it was, that they legit went and worked in a factory. But then she said something like, Tonghi always wanted to see the world, and like, I don't know. I kind of thought maybe they got into a little bit of trouble. I wasn't sure. But either way, she committed suicide, correct? Like,
yes.
She found her where they did the laundry.
I know. And part of me like just broke because out of those two sisters, like I am definitely a Tonghi, right? I'm more, I think about things that could be, and like, I'm my head in the clouds.
Dreamer, kind of. Yeah. And that's what she said, right? Like she couldn't, some people, I think the way she phrased it was like, it was clear she was talking about her though, right? Like some people, can't, when they're not living, can't reconcile like not being the dream that they had,
Yeah, it was some Les Miserables shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, just there are certain characters that can survive a war. It's like generations long war, and there are certain ones that cannot.
And and I'm so glad you said that, because I forgot that little part of it where I said this was before the war. They came back after the war.
Yes. Okay.
And that's something I thought about a couple of times watching these two episodes, that's like yet another thing these characters have had to live through. So first you have the occupation and the treatment there, and then the situations in which we've seen, like the singer on the boat and Sunja's situation and Isak's situation, but then we haven't even gotten to the war years yet.
No, we haven't.
I'm like, oh crap.
Yes.
Lord.
Which is why I'm assuming there's season 2. So
right. Yes. Oh, so yeah, thank you for saying that, because I meant to mention it at the beginning. So, as I'm watching this, again, it's this, when you're watching stories like this with I don't know why my dog's doing that, with the timelines, I find myself wondering where this person is now, and so as each episode we're watching, I'm like, I know where Kyung-hee ended up, and like, I want to know what happened to her mom. I started panicking. I'm like, what if this show is done? And like, I never get answers, because I read something that said that the book material is like 7 seasons worth of TV, which
easily, yeah.
I had no idea the book was like that.
Yeah,
so
it just keeps going.
So yes. Okay, good. So yes, it was renewed. So I was so in my feelings, because I also feel like I don't see a lot of people talking about it, like on social media and stuff. And I don't know, Frank, I'm a little frustrated because I feel like it feels like there are a lot of people who are I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this. You know, the Korean wave, right? And it's like you have like your little K-pop groups that you like, and that's where you focus your interest into Korean culture, right? And we're hearing all of this, you know, again, like the Korean wave and this interest in, you know, Korean culture and Korean music and Korean beauty products and food and all of that. So I don't know. I guess I just expected folks to show up for this. You know, like, where y'all at? Where is everybody at? Because this is good. And it's like, not only is it good, but I mean, you're learning stuff here. And this is, you know, but I just feel like I don't see a lot of people talking about it. And it just was making me scared. So I think I just went and typed Pachinko season 2 and hit enter. And I saw like a couple of days ago, it was announced that it was renewed for a season 2. So I just let out a sigh of relief.
Yeah, you know, now that I think about it, like, even, like, I don't really, like, I'm not really tied into, like, the Korean American social media community anymore. But I have not seen a lot either. Like, to me, it's a big fucking deal.
It is I thought so, right?
Like, the book was obviously a huge deal. Like, I don't, you know, that was a huge phenomenon.
And it's not like the show is bad. Like, that would be one thing. Like,
yeah, no,
I mean, I can't speak
beautiful.
obviously I can't speak for Korean Americans, but I'm gonna tell you something about Black Americans, right? Man, we'd be proud of something. We're like, yeah, we're gonna hold that up. But if it sucks, we're gonna quietly let that fade.
yeah.
Like, okay, we don't talk about that show. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't know if it's maybe there's something that, as you know, someone who's not Korean, maybe I'm not seeing something. But I don't know, like, because I just feel like people aren't talking about it, and I feel like it's good. Even if you don't, I can't imagine, like, I would imagine the subject matter may be too much for some people, which I totally understand. But even if you thought, like, you're not interested in the story, the acting, like, it's so beautiful to look at. I just don't understand why more people aren't talking about it. But anyway, we are getting a season 2.
I think you're right, though. Like, they, you know, Korean culture is very popular, but it's all the cute stuff. Right? And it's not, this is not cute.
No. This is, it's heartbreaking and it's ugly at times, but it's real. You know, in the sense that, you know, this shit really happened. And
and it's a great, like, kind of, this is what was going on. Like, we know, like, what the greatest generation was doing during World War II, or like the, you know, the years leading up to World War II, right? This is also kind of coincides with the Great Depression, and like we know, like, there's hella movies about that,
right? Like,
why
isn't
interested in like what else was going on in the world at the same time?
Because listen, Julie, there are sometimes when I am either learning something about Korea, in the process of learning the language, or watching a K-drama, or that, you know, where I learn something, or that, and I catch myself being like, oh, I didn't know they do that in Korea, or I didn't know, like, and it'll be something so fucking simple, but it's because I think I'm trying to think of a way to say this is not going to make me cry. I swear I cry at anything, but it's like, we are conditioned to see how different we are. That sometimes, like, it's the simplest thing, you know, like, I know, okay, my main experience obviously is with the difference between, you know, Black people and white people. And I just remember I would be shocked learning things like, oh, you guys did that at home too, or
oh yeah,
or, you know, or like, or seeing like white kids get disciplined. I'd be like, oh wait, that happens. Like, you know, like little, and of course that happens, right? But like when you don't know and you're so like separated, and it's probably a bad example, but I mean, I find myself, and I think there was like an occurrence in one of these episodes, so I'm sure we'll get there, where I found myself too, like, I'm just like, oh really? They knew about that, or they did that, and it's like, of course they did, you know, but you don't, it's not talked about, like you said, or it's the kind of cute stuff. Like, you're not gonna learn about this stuff watching a lot of K-pop videos, you know,
Right.
or certain types of K-dramas, you know. Anyway, it's unfortunate. I mean, I'm happy it was renewed. So clearly, whatever the numbers were, Apple TV was pleased with it. So good for us. But I really do hope more people watch it. And again, I'm waiting to be done with it so I can go consume other reviews and stuff. Okay, so she does eventually find her father's grave. Oh, and I want to say, Boki, like, I told Kaylee, I feel like the longer that scene went on, more dogs appeared. How many dogs does she have?
I was so happy for her, though.
I
Can
know.
you imagine getting to the point where you just have to take care of your baby dogs? Like,
And like, where she lived, it looked nice, and she set out the food and stuff like that. And it's just like thinking that this was the girl that was sitting there squatting in the water doing her laundry.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she seemed really tuned in.
Yeah.
I was so happy for her.
But I did cry about. Oh, and then when she says, you remember where we used to do the laundry? That's where I found her.
Yeah.
When she says that, there's like a shot of the water and like a piece of clothing in it and like feet, like as the camera pans over. So when I had paused it to go see which girl was the girl who died, and I went back to that scene, that's actually how the scene opens. So that clip was actually from that episode. It like pans over and we see Sunja doing the wash and then they're talking. Yeah. So that didn't help, because then I got to see her young, beautiful face, and then I'm like, oh, she's dead. Oh. But she does find her father's grave, and she goes there with Moses, and she decides she's ready to go home.
Yes.
Even though they still have a couple of days. It's too different. And she goes, I can always come back. I know that now. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
But when she says, someone once told me that basically, like, for every advancement that you make, someone else has to lose, kind of thing. That was Hansu, right? Did Hansu tell her that?
Yes.
Okay. I love when he was like, I don't know who told you that shit, but...
Let me tell you how it really works.
Yeah, right.
Oh, he was right.
Yeah. But she says, Chipe kaja. Let's go home. One of the first little Korean sentences I learned. Okay, so now where do you want to go? Do you want to go Tokyo or Osaka?
Okay, let's wrap up Osaka and then we'll talk about Solomon.
Okay. So, when she meets Joseph at the train station, this scene was, again, I'm watching it and and they're talking, like, I was surprised they were speaking Korean in this, not train station. Was it train station? It was some station where he picked them up.
Yeah, I thought it was a train station too.
Yeah, so maybe like after the boat they took a train, but they're speaking Korean, and I remember thinking, are they supposed to be doing this? Like, so when they got on the trolley and he says it's best to speak Japanese from now on, I was like, okay. Because I was watching that scene like I would have been watching a scene of like black folks in the 50s or the 40s in a in a public place. Like, are they supposed to be there? Are they about to be harassed? Like, did they go through the right door? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I was nervous because it felt very similar. That like, you are there, but you don't really belong there, and these people will fuck with you, and they can for whatever reason they want. So I was very surprised that they were speaking Korean in public like that. So this is right, Osaka. So when they go home and we meet Kyung-hee, I think the casting is really good too, because I believe that was the younger version of the woman who died a couple of episodes ago, right?
Yeah.
The rice that she serves her makes her cry. She serves rice because it's a special occasion.
Yeah.
That they're there.
And she's very, like, sorry, I think.
Hmm.
I think she also felt just like very sorry. Like, she just like knew that she was like meeting her in-laws, right? For the
Yes, yes,
first
yes, yes, yes. And
like
then later, when
little
she talks
moment.
about like how she knows that this isn't easy, right?
Yes.
Because she went through it. Um, and so she understands how scared and all that she must be. Yeah. Um, so when he was nice to her face, but like that night, the brother is kind of skeptical because apparently, Yosef and Isak come from a bit of money.
Yeah, well, not just a bit of money. Like, when he was railing in the bar, right, in the next
Yeah.
episode, he said he was Yangbun, which is like the noble class.
Wow. Yeah, because that's what he's like, well, I'm a nobleman too. The drunk guy was messing
Yeah,
with him.
he's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay.
Okay. Yeah. And then Isak said that he had like, what did he call it? Like a servant, like his own personal servant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and I forgot about that they themselves were rich because I know that they pointed out that Kyunghee. Remember, when Sunja asked like, "Is
yes.
Kyunghee a good cook?" and Isak was like, "I'm surprised if she knows how to cook anything because I don't
Yes.
think she's ever had to cook in her life."
Yes. And then later she told her, I never knew how to do anything before
Right.
this. She says, and I never spoke to someone my parents didn't know. So
Yes.
yeah, I was like, oh, so she came from money too.
Yeah. And yeah, you don't like what is it? Glow up and like marry a Yangbun person. Like Yangbun marries Yangbun. For
Ah, yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Um, which is why, it's even more like, I guess, preposterous. Like why Isak is bringing Sunja home.
Yeah, because she was not that before. Like,
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Um, and I wonder if his brother is just like, he has to understand like their position where they are now, obviously, is not how how it was when they were home in Korea before the occupation.
Mhm.
And so, what type of woman did he think Isak was gonna eventually settle down with? Did he expect him to go out there and find a noble woman or something? Like
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting to me that he kind of kept those airs a little bit. But okay, I'm so naive. They fool around
Who?
in Isak and Sunja that first night.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, listen, ma'am.
Hmm.
Let me tell you what I love about this. I love that so far they're not treating Sunja like this innocent, although she can be, a bit naive in certain things, but for the
Yeah.
most part, I think people look at her and see innocent, simple
Yeah. Country girl.
country girl, right?
Yeah.
She's not that, but beyond that, I like that she's written as a young woman with like desires. Like,
Hmm.
I like that this was not, I honestly thought we were going to get the stereotypical first intimate moment between them after the baby is born and she's doing it out of like wifely duties. Do you
Right.
get what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I'm so glad that this shit happened here. She's pregnant and it seemed like she did it because she wanted to.
Hmm.
And I love that for her.
Yeah. It like answered a lot of questions for me. Like, just like I always wonder like how Korean people do it because according to my parents, they don't. You know.
But okay, according to Twitter, really quickly, I'm going to let you finish. I
Uh-huh.
remember this from a couple of years ago. Apparently, someone that I used to follow, I don't follow him anymore, who's half Korean, he had said something like, it's funny to me that people are so obsessed with what it's like for Korean people to have sex, like we don't or something, when he goes, we are the horniest people in the world.
I mean, it tracks for me. So. That's good.
I just laugh so hard when it is, because I don't know what maybe, you know what I think it is? I think it's the media. Because it's, from what I heard, I only started watching K-drama when I started learning the language. And even then, I held off. I did not start watch on purpose. I wanted to have a kind of firm grasp on the language before I started listening to it a lot, if that makes sense. But I heard that it's very conservative.
Oh gosh, I don't know what it's like now, but you know, when I was growing up in the 90s, they didn't even have kissing.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah.
I had no idea how Korean people like courted each other or like dated.
Right.
Yeah, I just figured they didn't. I don't know. Like,
but I'm telling you, I think that's where it comes from.
Let me live in that that zone.
Because when I saw Parasite, I have to say, like, I was kind of shocked by the scene of the you've seen it, right? Of course you're.
Oh yeah.
Okay, just in case. The couple, I think they were the Kim family, the rich family.
The mom and dad.
Yeah, when they were on the couch, that night scene.
Oh yeah, I was too.
I was like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And then I remember, well, it's a motion picture, but I was like, but still, it's still Korean, and I was told that they don't do stuff like this in their cinema. Like, this is like shocking.
I was delighted. I remember that scene very, like, I'm 2 years old, like, still discovering my own people's sexuality. Like, that's not terrible.
It happens. It bees that way, as Kaylee says sometimes. Sometimes it bees that way.
It worked, you know, like, it's a tactic. You know, I see strategy behind it.
But yeah, I remember just being like, wow. And it was also kinky. I don't know if you remember, because he said something like,
oh yeah,
if you put on those panties that I found in the car, I'll get real hard. And I was like, what is happening? Bong Joon-ho, who told you can do this?
Oh, you know what it was? It was affirming. Like,
yeah.
Oh, thank God I'm not like this deviant.
Right.
Or like so corrupted by American sexuality or something.
Oh, yeah. I could see, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank God.
So this was great. I was like, good for her. Good for both of them.
I know, because pregnancy sex, it's a whole other thing.
That's true too. So I just thought this was beautiful. But the funny thing is, like, Kaylee was getting up to like take Nico out when the scene like started, and when they were just talking, and then I think, she touched his face, and then she took his hand and put it to her, like her heart, right? And they're talking, and she's like holding his hand to her chest, and then his other hand goes down. I thought, he's gonna put his hand on her belly. This is sweet.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Yeah, I am. So his hand goes down there, and Kaylee walked past the TV. So I didn't see exactly where the hand went. I always thought it was on the belly, and then she was rubbing his hand with her thumb, the hand that she was holding to her chest. So I was like, this is so sweet. But then there was like moaning, and she rolled over, and I was like, oh, they making out. And Kaylee just laughed. And I was like, oh, she must think I'm the biggest. Like, she's probably wondering, how the hell did I get here with this?
Yeah, she's just like, why is my mom a virgin?
Right? Like, how? We were watching Peacemaker, and I said something like, why does she just have a microphone on the counter like that? And Kaylee was like, it's not a microphone. It was a vibrator. When your 23-year-old daughter does that.
Oh, God.
I felt so stupid. Okay. So anyway, so they fool around, and then we have this scene where Kyunghee, like a month passes. 한 달 후. I was so proud of myself for knowing that. When a month passes, Kyunghee, Sunja breaks down when she realizes that Kyunghee washed some of her clothes from home that still had the smell.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus. And I love that she didn't, like, dismiss it.
Yes.
You know, she was like, they just smelled so bad. They were starting to stink. Yeah. And I thought I was doing, like, a good thing. And, like, the more she cried, and she goes, I just wanted it for... She knew it stunk. Like, she...
Yeah, she did.
She's like, I just need it a little bit long, just a little bit. I like that Kenny didn't judge her, you know?
Yeah, because it's again, it was childish, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It reminded me, my goodness, she's still in her teens.
Mm-hmm. So then the guys come to collect the debt.
Oh, yeah. I loved this little caper. Like,
this
this little heist or whatever.
This little Thelma and Louise side plot we got.
Yes, it was so cute.
Did you notice how, like, Sunja, like, immediately picked up, like, that this was a debt because of her? She was like, how much was the loan? And da-da-da. And she goes, and then the guy was like, yeah, he said he needed it for an extra ticket, passage.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, she peeped that. So she was like, we're going to pay it. We'll have it later today. The whole thing.
Yeah.
And when he was like, you can bring the $20, and when he gave her the address, he's like, you can bring the $20. And she was like, no, you'll have the whole thing. Part of me was like, sis, just give him the $20.
Right?
The 20 yen, I mean. But she goes and she sells the watch that Hansu gave her.
Yes.
And you know what? Okay, later we find out, I don't know, I'm kind of annoyed by this, because part of me was like, yeah, this is her haggling coming in handy.
Right.
Right? Because when we first met her as a little girl, remember, she was helping that fisherman haggle. And like, this is her dad's influence and letting her be this type of kid, you know? So I was like, yay, good for her. But then later we find out it was a setup.
It was all a setup. And also, like, who haggles that good? Like,
true.
My hackles were raised. He's like, okay, well, fine, 300 then, or whatever it was, right?
Mm-hmm,
like, from 20, no one does that.
Yeah, they did jump a lot. But I love it because it also caused Kyung-hee to look at her like, you are such a badass.
Yeah, Kyung-hee didn't know, and as long as Kyung-hee didn't know, then mission accomplished.
Right.
Yeah.
So they go and pay it. Also, the guy they paid it to was hot. Can I just say?
Yes, I know. I thought the same.
I had Kaylee in here cracking up. I was like, "Oh, hey, Mr. Lone Shark Man."
I'm like, wow, the mob was different there. Yeah.
But of course, he's upset about it. Yosef. Yeah. He said, I can feel my nuts shriveling. I was like, damn, Yosef, you ain't have to.
I'm just like, your nuts shriveled a while ago, okay?
All right, dude, relax. I mean, but isn't that just like a man, though? Like, your debt is done. They're not going to break your kneecaps. You dodged a bullet, motherfucker. Your sister-in-law had the cash. You're lucky.
I mean, it's because of that he felt safe enough to chastise them, which is stupid. Yeah.
I can't breathe in here. Nigga, you was just gonna go drink anyway. Just go drink.
You know what's funny is that is so, like, you know, when a man goes carousing, and it's very heavily implicated that he's also going to cheat on his wife, it's euphemized as like getting fresh air.
Really?
Yeah. And so hearing it phrased that way, he's like, well, number one, I'm going to cheat on you or whatever. I don't know. But also it's your fault because I can't breathe in here.
Oh.
Men.
And of course, like, we know everybody heard everything because the walls is there. And when they ran out, the whole neighborhood was just standing out there, pig lady over there, and the other guy smoking and stuff. I was like, oh, he's even if he wanted to, he's gonna, even if he didn't want to be mad, he's gonna stay mad because now he's embarrassed.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you have to, right? Like, to save face a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Just go out and have a couple of drinks, but really, secretly, you should just be fucking happy that this is like a debt that's now done. Like, you don't have to deal with it. But, you know, men in their pride. All right, so Tokyo.
Yes.
Why the fuck did Solomon...
weird, like...
Why did he have such faith in Tom? Right? Like, he was talking to Naomi.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she already told you this is where careers go to die.
Yeah.
This is where they send problem folk. And Tom already came to you when you first got there and was like, should I be worried? Like, he was threatened by you from the jump. And now this deal fell through and you embarrassed him. Why are you like, why does he, I could not understand why he had so much faith in Tom not letting him take his job. Is it because he's white?
I took it more as just like Solomon just cannot grok that kind of bad thing happening to him. Like, to me, Solomon is very
sheltered, maybe.
Well, yeah, he's very sheltered, but he thinks he's the shit, and he is the shit in a lot of ways. Like, his grandmother's life revolved around him, right? And yeah, he's just like 잘났어. Like, he's just very like smug into himself.
Yeah,
and it is worse because there is validity in that, right? He is, quite phenomenal. Yeah.
But is he though?
Hubris, though. I mean, I can't imagine in '89.
I get you.
They they weren't rich then.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Like him clawing his way through all those like brand name schools, like
and yeah, and he's Korean.
Yeah.
And it is America. Then, yeah.
Like it was all about Japan. It was not about Korea at all.
Right. No, you're right. So I learned something. I did not pick up that what's her name? Hana's mom. I did not get that that's Moses' wife.
They're not married.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're just like long time boyfriend girlfriend.
Partners.
I assume for legal reasons.
Okay, because I didn't get that. I don't know, and I knew she wasn't Sunja's daughter. Like, I got that, but it was just, and then because clearly it felt like Hana and Solomon grew up together, but also it clearly felt romantic too. So I'm like that. So I knew they weren't blood related, but I didn't get that that's what that was. So that is Moses's girlfriend's daughter.
Yes, and I think they first met as teenagers.
Yes. You mean Solomon and
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
When
and
I think
Hana.
he said like 14 or something like that, maybe younger.
And like,
yeah.
How do you not expect them to just
right?
do
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah.
Like, there's like a whole section in the porn aisle on this.
Either they were going to like fall in love, or they were just gonna be like the bestest of like best brother and sister instant, right? Like, there's no in between. So he goes looking for her.
Yeah.
Oh wait, why does he gets
him?
Oh, that's right. Wait. No. But before that, though, right? First, Naomi asks about her, right? Because she says that she heard the phone conversation.
Oh,
That's where we got the details, right? And then when they start talking about the job stuff, I forget what she said. She said something to him. I think it was her just telling him, be careful. He got snippy with her. And he said something nasty to her. And
he said something straight up bitchy.
Yeah, I was like, what are you doing? Like, why? She's trying to like help you out here. But somebody at the dinner party that they were at, told him where he would find a girl like Hana. And
yes.
He goes to like this neighborhood with a picture of her, right?
Yes.
Looking for her. And he runs into someone, Haruki?
Yeah, Haruki. Yes. Haruki.
He was cute too.
Yeah. I don't remember Haruki from the book at all.
Yeah. So like, and then, so he goes in, okay, first of all, he's like, following him to his house, and they stop. He goes, "You live here?" And I was like, "Dude," like he said it like
just
you live like this.
No game. None. Like he has no social game at all.
None at all. But he ends up meeting this guy's family, right?
adoptive family.
Right. Because it's
Yeah.
like an older couple and these two kids, a boy and a girl, like to the point even when he like introduced the boy, he said the boy's name and he was like, and this is his sister. Like, but he didn't say this is my son and this is my daughter. This is my mom. So I was just like, what is going on here? And then they sit down to eat and we learn that they, like, he was in that, like, they grew up together as well, right? And when they're eating, at one point, Solomon goes, "This is good. What's in it?" And they just laugh.
Yes.
And they tell him to keep eating. And I looked at Kaylee and I was like, if I ask you what's in the food you're serving me, you don't tell me.
Oh, I assumed it was because it was just udon from a pack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was so confused by that. I was like, what's in it? Why won't they tell me what he's eating?
Yeah, I think because like the the floaties right inside the udon, like it's very very familiar, like like a standard udon pack.
Oh, so he just doesn't eat like instant food then.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, Solomon. I was so confused.
He's so embarrassing, but like I love him.
But then when they go outside, when he's leaving, we learn this guy, he was like, your wife and brother miss you too. So he just left his family. Is that it?
Yes.
And he's happy because he gets to be who he really is.
Yeah.
Which is what? I'm so confused.
They didn't say, and I assumed he was gay.
Okay.
Yeah, I assumed that, but that could totally be projection.
Okay. And so these are just, like you said, this is a family that he stays with. People, okay.
I mean, he could, like, maybe, like, be, like, a interpretive dancer or something. I don't know. But, like, I didn't see no art.
Right. Okay. And then Solomon insults him by just offering him money.
I know. So bad.
It was so extra awkward because he just like looked at him.
Yeah.
He didn't say no thank you. He just looked at him like, dude, is that what you do? You just throw money at everything and everyone? Like, come on. Did I ask you for this? Like, oh, it was so awkward.
And that's the other thing is that he broke code too. Haruki's obviously older than him, right?
Oh yeah.
Like it would be one thing if it's your hyung, like giving you some spending money,
right.
But like he totally broke every single code.
Yeah.
And like he's obviously like happy. Like, and that's the thing is like I thought maybe Solomon would have like picked up that life lesson.
Right.
Like he was laughing too by the end of that dinner.
Yep.
Like they didn't need that.
Yep. And when he says, I always felt sorry for you. Whoa.
I know, right?
You got this guy living in conditions that you clearly look down on, refusing money from you. He's genuinely happy. He's telling you he's happier than he was before because he's just who he is, allowed to be who he is. And then he tells you, Mr. God, where'd he go to school? Yale? And
yeah.
That he always felt sorry for you because it must have been tough living up to all of those expectations. Wow.
Yeah. Which is like the most damning, like kind thing I've ever heard in my life.
Right. Yeah. So then Solomon gets an idea. He sees something because there's that whole other storyline that they're finally kind of diving into in this next episode with that developer guy who was on the news. He gets this idea and he calls Tom about it, but Tom tells him he's been fired.
Yeah.
And then that's when Hana calls. I keep saying Hana.
Hana called like was it like right during that call?
Yeah, because he was like, he goes, hang on, don't hang up. And I was like, oh, Tom's hanging up.
Yeah, like, he just got fired.
Right? Like, why would he stay on the line? Tom is very happy you got another call.
Yeah.
Okay, so this final episode, you get to pick. Where do you want to start? 75 Osaka, 31 Osaka, or back to Tokyo?
You know what? You want to just keep going with the Solomon thing?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as it turns out, this is the thing. This is the other thing that was shocking. Hana has AIDS.
Yes.
Now, here's and this is I'm going to tell you, this is absolutely my fault. This is absolutely my fault. There's no reason why I waited until 2019 when my daughter wouldn't shut up about a K-pop group called BTS to learn about anything Korean. I watched this and I was like, oh wow, so they were shitty about AIDS in Japan too, huh? like this
oh gosh. I mean, yeah.
And I said, I should say learning about other cultures. My fault. It was a very late in life thing. So yeah, if you're way younger than me, take that advice. If you're, especially like if you're in your 20s, oh my God, learn a language, a different language. Learn about other people other than yourself. But anyway, yeah, I was like, when they were like, we can't treat her, and if it gets out that our hospital has an AIDS patient, I was like, holy shit. Everybody was terrible about AIDS in the 80s.
It was, yeah.
And except that one doctor who like spoke up and was like, I think I can treat her. And he was like, we'll transfer her to an isolated wing. But then later, did they put her in like a closet?
I was going to ask you, I'm like, didn't it look like a supply closet?
I feel like I saw boxes of rolls of toilet tissue in the back.
Yeah.
I think they did, Julie.
Yeah, I think they did.
Holy shit.
I have definitely been in hospital rooms where like that would have been an upgrade though,
Yeah.
Sure.
That's what my notes. I have Tokyo 1989. Hana has AIDS. Bullet point 1. Did they put her in a closet?
It definitely looks like a closet.
I think they put her in a closet. So she says she got it from one of those
super rich people,
upper crust. Mm-hmm. And she tells Solomon no matter what he does, no matter how many degrees he has or how he dresses, he won't be one of them. They won't allow it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I was sitting here like, preach, honey, because similar has been said to black folks.
Yep.
About white folks, about whiteness. She says they leave the door open just enough for you to think.
To have the hope. I know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so true.
Mm-hmm. He goes back to Shipley's. He packs up his stuff and leaves. And that's when he's approached by, God help me, I did not write this man's name down. Let me go look it up. Now, this is the guy who I'm thinking, hold on, let me see.
Oh, when they were in the car.
Yeah. Okay. So I have something here that I don't have in my notes. When they talk about, I think it may have been the way this episode started with Hana as a child in the store. And she convinces Solomon to shop for her.
Yeah. Oh, did you ever have that friend? I had a friend like this.
No, I don't think I did. And that's not because I was the friend. I swear, I don't think.
No. These like,
just like a pressuring, like, I mean, to prove, and for what, to what end though? Like to prove.
Well,
how much you like them or whatever.
Yeah, they're super manipulative, right? And they just took, like that was the game. Like that was their entertainment, is to see how far like they could manipulate, like somebody like Solomon and like me, like who are a little bit, I don't know what's the word, just a little tender-hearted, just like very trusting.
Yeah, and especially because she had to know like how he felt about her. Like he was like, in love with her.
I looked up the man's name is Mamoru Yoshi.
Mamoru Yoshi. Okay. Thank you. And hold
He
on.
was the guy that like the TV shows kept talking
Right.
about
And
corruption.
apparently, so when he talks about his grandfather is Hansu, right? I know you can't tell me.
I actually have no idea.
That's what my thought was
Yeah, me
because
too.
when I'm sorry, I'm also looking for my Apple Pencil, which I miraculously lost just sitting here. Here it is. When Solomon gets arrested. Okay, well first of all, wait. So the guy is the shop owner is super nice to child Hana. And I'm trying to remember why exactly. It has something to do with her mom, right? Like, I don't know if it's just that he liked her mom or what. But he was clearly not feeling Solomon. And
Yeah.
so
Well,
when Solomon...
Solomon's Korean.
Right. There you go. I mean, well, on the surface, I was going to say, like, I wasn't sure it was that, right? But then they let you know for sure later when he's like, he's one of them Koreans. That's what they do or something. I was like,
Yeah, like
oh,
we gotta teach this. If we let him go, we won't teach the lesson.
oh God. Like, again, this is all like, I've seen this.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just replace Korean with black person.
Yep.
Yes. So when that happens, right? And she's outside banging on the door because now Solomon's locked in there. And when he brings up the Korean part on the phone, he's calling the cops. And it sounded like they didn't want to come, right? It sounded like they were just like, give me a fucking break. It's a candy bar. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Whoever he was on the phone with, it sounded like he was trying to convince them. But when he started talking shit about Koreans, Solomon was advancing. And that's when Hana was like, Solomon, don't. He was going to fuck that man up, wasn't he?
Yes.
Okay. He was about to mess up his whole future.
Yep.
Oh man. So, but he's arrested, and then when Moses comes in, which this is the same actor, right?
Yes, I said that to my husband at the same time when we watched. I'm like, oh my god, that's the same actor, isn't he? And
Yeah.
like, you just take out the mustache,
Yep.
like take out the
Yep.
little like skunk patch in
Yep.
the hair, and
They did good too, because I really just thought he looked like that. You know, like
And
same
just-
actor. He looks good. So, when it feels like again, like the cop kind of wanted to just let it go, maybe, but also had to give them a little shit because they're Korean and they should know their place type thing. But then it felt like it was like up in the air until he gets a phone call.
a mystery phone call.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I'm dealing with that situation now. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, here it is. And so, but this is also when I'm thinking that Hansu isn't his biological grandfather.
Correct.
So, like, is it Noah? Like, I don't know. Like, did Noah go be with his dad? And, like, so he has some, like, power and influence? Like, I don't know. Oh, my God. I can't believe this show has, like, a little mystery in here.
Right?
I really just thought it was just going to be this, like, family saga and a lot of, like, crying and me being angry at the world and colonialism. But no, it was, there's a little mystery in here. So that's I don't know what you can say, but you see where I'm going with that, right? This is like Hansu's influence somehow.
Yeah, his sticky little fingers.
Mm-hmm. And so basically, what was his name? Oh God, Yuri God. I'll look it up again. Don't worry about it. But he basically, he proposes to Solomon that they take,
a co-business venture. Yeah.
that they take Pachinko on the road.
Yeah.
And I was like, Solomon is in the perfect place for to be susceptible to something like this. Right? I mean, of course he's going to do it, right? Oh my god, I can't wait. We're getting to season 2. Yay. Okay.
What? He has no other options at this point.
No, he doesn't really. And then, like, that's the other thing where I think we talked about this last podcast that I didn't get when we watched the first 3 episodes, that, like, he moved there to work there. Like, I thought he was, like, brought in to just do that deal, and it was like a temporary thing. I didn't really get that he was basically transferred.
Yeah, well, he wanted to make sure that he didn't just die on the vine there, right? Remember, in New York, he was like, so I want a guaranteed VP-ship or whatever back.
Right, when I come back. So for some reason, though, I just thought he was like if you're, you work for your company, but you go work in their Dallas office for a month.
Yeah.
And then you come back. But this felt like it was more, no, you'll transfer me there and I'll do this, but I want your word that you're going to transfer me back. So to the point where, like, this fell through, and then he was just, like, out of a job completely. To the point where he was like, you know what I mean? Like, his visa. Because he was like, my Shipley sponsored his visa. So if they fire him, he's like, fuck, he has to leave. Right?
Yep.
So yeah, he's definitely going to do it. So let's talk about Hana.
Okay.
What is her... I feel like Hana could have been me. With, like, I don't know. Like, I was, like, maybe 2 or 3 poor decisions away from being Hana. But I'm trying to figure out, like, where it comes from. Like, what her story is exactly. And I guess maybe we'll get more of it, but, like, is it just, she seems very resentful of her mother, and how she, what did she say, like, opened her legs for
anyone?
Yeah.
I think she was just trying to be mean, too.
Okay.
Because Etsuko, like, did not even flinch.
She really didn't.
I think they just, like, if Hana is like my friend, who is no longer with us, but my friend was both bipolar and had borderline personality disorder, then it probably would be, like, kind of typical behavior to start, like, poking, to get a rise out of people.
Yeah.
Because, again, like, you're influencing them.
Right.
And that the way it's been described to me is that, like, you're just constantly kind of poking at things to make sure that you matter. But, like, the only evidence that you would take seriously is if you had, like, full control over somebody. Not like, I matter because I like, cook dinner. It had to be, like, something, like, big, like, entertainingly big.
Right. Yeah, she certainly, I mean, and she does that, like what we talked about with Solomon first, right? It was the whole, no matter what you do, they're never going to accept you. She pokes at her mother. She even pokes at Sunja. And I was like, what? What could you possibly have against this precious woman? What does she say?
It was a legitimate thing.
But wait, no, it wasn't. Because she wasn't even talking about her.
I know, but, like, from her Hana's point of view.
Yeah.
She had a legitimate point.
That's true. She was like, remember when you said that I wasn't shit and I was never going to be shit and I suck and I ruined Solomon's life? And Sunja was like, what?
I said we because it was me. Which, like, at the time I was like, number one, that's some quick thinking, Sunja. But, like, also, like, it had to be true. No one thinks that quick on their feet.
Right. And then this is where she talks about her other son, right?
Yes.
And she said something like, I'm trying to remember how she phrased it, like he's gone now or he left, or something like that.
She said, I ruined his life, I believe.
Right? Yeah. Oh my God, this is so yeah, she was like, I wasn't talking about you, girl, I was talking about me. Hana was like, oh.
Yeah, it really softened her up. 'Cause
Yeah.
after that, she was kinder to her mom.
Yeah, she was. But I don't know. I feel like her behavior, I guess what we're supposed to take from this is that her quote unquote lifestyle behavior of protected sex or drug use is how she became infected. And they're telling us, I think, that this behavior stems from these issues from her childhood with, some like deal with her mom. Okay.
Like, she strikes me as a pretty, like, kind of I've seen this story, like, or character before of, like, a girl who's just, like, too smart for her own good. So she starts toying with people because, like, let's say school is boring and everything's
right. Okay.
Which leads to destructive behavior, and so even her own mom, like, doesn't know what to do, and so she runs away. But then, but she still internalizes a lot where, obviously Hana seems to be her own worst critic too. Right?
Yeah.
She was, like, daring them to say the things that she thought about herself. Like, just say it. Just say that I'm ugly. Just say that,
Yeah.
or whatever, right?
Yeah. That's true.
And I see that kind of tendency, like, with really, really smart women who aren't given, the opportunity to apply themselves.
And I did like when her mom is feeding her.
Yeah.
And she was like, I didn't realize how hungry I was. Is there more? And I was like, oh my God. Oh.
Yeah, I know. My heart was just like, don't die angry.
I know.
Just accept this.
Oh. And then Solomon arrives and he talks to Sunja brought all those side dishes and stuff to the hospital.
Like a fucking A+ student of hospital. Like, what? Did you see how, like, neatly it was all packed?
Holy shit. Like, you see her unpacking it, and I was like, ooh. And you pull back, and you see it's the hospital, like, waiting room. I'm like, what?
And, like, and then she was just like, oh, they have a tiny little oven in the hotel room.
Yes. It's just like, I brought all the side dishes from home. And Solomon's like, you brought all of that from home? She was like, yeah. I didn't know how long we were going to be here. Oh. He had the fucking nerve to blame her.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, I got fired and it's your fault because you made me pity her. I was like, you little bitch. I was so mad at him.
He is such a little brat.
But,
like, they do a good job at, like, at least lighting him up or something, like, where in the way that Sunja clearly sees him. Like, he just always looks like a sweet,
right,
beautiful person, and then he just does this mean shit all the time.
Yep.
Like, an impetuous shit. And
but I like how she handles him, though.
Oh, I know.
She eventually tells him, basically, what more important than your success is how you achieved it. And he's like, I'm trying. I was like, are you though?
In his own way.
In his own way. I mean, yeah, because I mean, he didn't have to sit there and say, tank the deal.
Right.
For whatever reason. Okay, so where do you want to go? Osaka or Osaka? You want to go 1975 or 1931?
Let's go 1931.
Okay. Oh, well, actually, never mind. This is the last bit because we already talked about this. And 75 was just when she had him steal. And he got, yeah.
Right. For some reason, I thought it was that last scene when you see Hansu again.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Yeah. But we didn't talk about, just really quickly, at the end of that, after that arrest, or after he's brought in, is when his father decides to send him to America.
I know.
I was like, that is punishment, honestly.
You're moving with your auntie and uncle to Bel Air, like got into one little fight. It was
exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened. Oh my god. And he specifically says, like, I'm getting you away from Hana.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, like, he was continuing the behavior. Like, he was lying for her still.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's just bad. It's just, yeah.
So, okay. So, in 1931, Osaka, sorry, my puppy's near the mic. Yosef is big mad, right? He big mad. He came home big mad. He's like, my nuts are shriveling. Everybody thinks I'm a weak man because y'all paid my debt. And then he had the nerve, the absolute gall to be like, where'd you get that watch? None of your fucking business.
Yeah.
And when she said my mom, he's like, a widow who owns a boarding house, Nico, has a watch like that. I was like, just call her a whore.
Yeah, like, who are you calling? Like, her mom? You just,
right?
Just
like,
say it.
Just say it already, because this is ridiculous. And then she ends up going into labor after he leaves. What else happens? Isak isn't home because he's off talking to the kid. Yes.
Yeah, that son. Oh, his third eye opened.
Yes. He was ready to start. Look, in my notes, I was like, he ready to start shit. I was like, he gonna blow up that subway.
And, like, the way, like, it filters through Isak is just like, I'm not gonna wear a tie anymore. Like, he's so mild-mannered. Like,
yes.
That's his act of resistance.
Yeah. He's like, God doesn't need me in a suit anymore. Okay, Malcolm. Okay, rebel. Baby steps.
Can I just say, like, the actor or, like, the man, does he just get more and more? How does he do that? He gets more and more handsome.
I don't know, but he is delightful.
Like, when
every
he was, like,
scene
a
he's in,
dad, just, like, a totally different kind of handsome. Like, and then when he became, like, his little revolutionary moment, like, I was like, oh, look at you.
But yeah, I really like this kid when he, I say kid, but when the mom was like worried about him and then we see him, I'm like, okay, he's a bit older. And then obviously I feel like under these conditions, they're unfortunately older than they should be. Exactly. It felt like that kind of thing, right? Where he's still a kid, but he's forced to be out here experiencing this grown man shit. But when he talks about like how they can't recognize their own outline, and when, oh my God, I'm just getting so sad. Later, when Isak says that about his child, when he's talking to his brother, he's like, I don't want that for my children. He's like, don't our children deserve better? And I was like, this is going to be rough. So what else? They send Isak to I have this in my notes. They send Isak to the Sulchip.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite things about Korean is when the meaning behind something like clicks for me. It's like when I realize 눈물, tears, right? So nun is eye, but it's also snow. Sorry, but it's eye, and then mul is water, right? So together, 눈물, tear, like eye water. And 술집 is like a bar or a pub. And sul is alcohol and chip is house. So sulchip is like alcohol house.
Oh, I know. That reminds me of my ex-husband, who is Japanese by descent. Like he called Korean like like a proto language because of that, like because of our literalisms. Um, and I remember like being so mad about it. Like I should have just, I should have known in that moment.
Like what? Like okay, first of all, like I say that like okay, first of all, now I'm offended.
No. I mean, I think it's cute. I think it's hella cute, and it's like what is it? It's so like clear, right?
Yeah.
It's not
Let
like a
me tell you something
euphemism.
about the Korean language, which I'm not talking to you specifically, Julie, because I know you know. I'm not telling you something about your own language. Those of you who may not know. It is so beautifully efficient. It is, first of all, the alphabet, Hangul, the letters, the way they are written, constructed, the way they were designed, are each letter, it's meant to replicate either, to show either the way, the shape of your mouth or the placement of your tongue when you're saying it. And words then that contain it. It's so beautifully efficient. And some of it is hard as fuck. Don't get me wrong. Woo, Lord Jesus. Because you have but the part of it again that's beautiful is the speech levels, right? The using honorifics, and it's I can't it's such a beautiful, it's one of the best things I've ever done for myself was to decide to learn this language. So yeah, I've been offended.
Oh yeah, I was hella offended, but love. And
Yeah.
one of my favorite examples of this kind of like the things that we label. So like a very popular Korean dish is bulgogi, right? And literally it means pul is fire,
Yeah.
gogi is meat,
Meat.
so it's fire meat, right? And so my favorite thing is a fish, not like a fish fillet, like a fish that's swimming around. We call them mulgogi.
Yes.
So we call it water meat.
Water meat. Yes.
Before like it's still alive.
Right.
Like,
Yes.
oh,
Yes.
water meat. And it's like my favorite thing about it. It's like one of well, that's not true, but it's like one of my favorite things about our language.
Yes.
Because like you take a group of like actually any East Asian like classroom to the aquarium, like you will inevitably hear like, oh my god, like of course, right? It's really cool to see all the sharks and stuff like that.
Right.
But then you'll inevitably hear the kids being like, that looks so delicious.
So listen, I want to be clear. When I said this is one of the things I love about the language, it's because I didn't say that to say, oh, look how simple it is, like alcohol house. No, because again, it is complicated.
Yeah,
it is hard.
But like that's exactly what it is. So it's like the way you said it was really great about how it's efficient, right? So like,
so when I come across as a learner, when I come across stuff like that, I am just happy as hell because I'm like, I can remember that. But let's talk about conjugating them irregular verbs.
let's not, because you're gonna outclass me immediately.
But you know what I mean? Like, so no, it's not like simple. I wasn't like trying to like talk down on the language. And that's what I meant when to hear something like that. It's like, no, the language is so much more than that. Yeah.
And it's like more portable that way. Like if you try to explain it to somebody who doesn't speak the language, like they would picture a bar. Right. Versus like, I have to learn the word pub.
Yeah.
That just sounds nothing like beer and shitty food, right?
Exactly. So yeah, at the Sojeep, those cops come in bullying people.
Looking through their bags.
Yeah. The one guy was like, "Those are for my pigs." And what were those?
Those are acorns.
Ah. I didn't know. I didn't realize that's. I didn't know that was a thing.
Well, he was embarrassed because, like, what kind of person like just carries around a little like sachet full of acorns, like a poor person, obviously.
But I
But yeah.
mean, he said they were for his pigs. Is
Hmm,
that not
yeah.
true?
Oh no, it is true. It's true.
Oh, okay.
But
So he like raised pigs, I'm assuming.
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, for all we know, he's in the household of the lady who became the midwife.
Right. That's what I was thinking. So okay. Yeah, this is this is where Isak becomes radicalized.
It does.
Oh my god, he's gonna be like, all cops are bad next week. Watch.
He's gonna be like, Isak is my slave name.
I love it. So, so yeah, we already talked about this. She goes into labor and has the baby, and they give Josip the honor of naming him.
Oh, I was sobbing so hard, Nina,
I
during
know.
this whole scene.
Yeah.
Just like that, a family reconciles.
Yep. When he was like holding that baby and he started sobbing, I was like, oh. I was like, yeah, this is it. This is the family now. Yeah. And yeah, you see, like, knowing too where the friendship of Sunja and Kyungi where that goes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that she cares for her as she dies and takes care of her, and then had the care to take her, to bring her back home. You know,
Yeah.
like, oh my god. So, but yeah, when he named that baby, I was sitting there. I was like, couldn't think of the dad's name, Solomon's dad. But I was like, I have a feeling it's not gonna be him.
Oh, Moses. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was quite like they kept it going because like what he was saying about the biblical character could have been describing Moses.
Yes. I was waiting.
Yeah.
I was waiting.
Yeah.
And but Noah. And then out of nowhere, Hansu is telling this woman, I have a son now.
Yes.
So your conjugal duties are no longer required.
I know. Like what? Did
What is happening?
my vagina dried up?
I was like, what is happening? Like, what? So, okay, so I'm assuming this obviously is his wife, and she's Japanese, right?
Yes.
And
like very like high upper class.
yes.
Like she's in full kimono for no reason.
For no reason. It's
Yeah.
like 2 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
She's double kimonoed up. But she's, when he tells her, and we know that he has like 3 daughters, right? Didn't he tell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, you know, to have a son is a big deal. And he's like, I got one now, so we can stop. And another woman did what you couldn't. I'm like, why are you like this? And I understand why he's like this to some degree. But also, why are you like this? You know, like, because then she counters with, he says something about like having her body back or something.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
relieved of conjugal duties, and then she's just like, it's too late. Like
Yeah.
I'm dirty or whatever.
You've sullied me.
Yeah. Oh.
Wow. So
Yeah.
what is the point then? Like, if this is how they felt, Japanese people then, if this is how they felt, what was to be gained by having these arranged situations, taking a Korean man and having him marry a Japanese woman, and apparently not just any Japanese woman, but somebody with considerable means, right? Like, what's the purpose of that? If at the same time you are oppressing them and trying to wipe out their culture.
Yeah, I took it. I thought about this, and I took it either 2 ways. Like number one, like maybe she was young and naive and in love, and then he just kept showing uglier and uglier sides of him, right? He is
Ah,
definitely prone to violence and has short fuse,
right.
right? Like it could have gone that way south,
Okay.
or like maybe, he is like he had cash, like he's nouveau riche, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and maybe she was like typical Downton Abbey shit, like, had a title but no cash. You know what I mean? Kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
thing.
yeah. Oh, you know what? For some reason, I don't know what I heard or thought I read, but I thought, however, he got his job and his position was because of her father.
Oh.
I don't know why I think that. And that could be absolutely just some shit I made up. I don't know why. So I think that's what I meant. Like I thought it was like an arranged thing where his boss. So that's why I asked like what would be the purpose? Like you would think if you're saying if they can't even speak their language and to the point where this woman feels like she's been sullied,
Yeah.
like then why are they marrying? Like why is that even allowed? Right?
Like, I guess there is a lot of opportunity, like, economically to be like first on board, maybe, as a colonizer, right? Like, you
Mm,
establish your, whatever business as the business to have. And it's just easier to have, you know, quote unquote, like native muscle,
got
right?
it. Oh, it's so disgusting. I hate it.
Oh, I hate it too.
Like, oh, like as soon as you said that, I was like, yeah, I get it now. Like, but it's like you don't want to think of people that way.
Yeah.
Does that
But,
make sense? Like,
oh,
I got it. Because I wasn't thinking in terms of like, why would you think of people that way? But this is what we're talking about.
and then, who knows what number daughter she is of like a rich man.
Yeah, that's true too.
And so, like, if she's like third daughter, you know,
Yeah.
like, I assume that, well, then just like give her to anyone, who would give her a lot, a good life.
Mm-hmm. And like she was like, and what will your precious son think of you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and one thing I want to mention is Sunja telling Solomon, I had, you think I don't know, like, what
Oh,
it's
right.
like to have to make, like, a tough choice? Like, I had choices, motherfucker.
I love her so much.
Me too.
Like, I only put up with like the other shit because it's part of her story.
Right, right. Exactly. This is just her story, really. I just want the best for her. Um, so that's it. That's it. We discussed the 2 episodes. I understand that it's already done, so everybody else is probably like way ahead of us, but this couldn't be helped. But just know that when we get together next weekend, we will be talking about episodes 7 and 8, the finale, and it is the season, not series finale, because thankfully we are getting a second season. So yay! But once again, thank you, Julie, for taking your time out of your weekend to discuss this with me. I just, so you know, I on Sundays I tutor in Korean folks who are just a few levels like below me, and we met today, and I was mentioning like at the start of class, I was like, yeah. Later, I'm going to podcast with my friend Julie. We're going to talk about Pachinko. And one of the women in the class, Carla, she was like, I just listened to you guys talk about the first 3 episodes today, and I loved it. I loved it.
Aww.
And she was like, you guys, everything that you guys talked about, like the stuff that even not just with the show, but like what it's like to be a woman in this world and everything. It was just so good. So I just want you to know, like, she gushed about that.
Oh my god.
For like a full minute.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you very much, Carla. So yeah, we'll be back next week, you guys. Thank you for listening. Good night.